But then again, it really depends on how Mark goes about this subject. He might
True.
get me super, super happy.
He might get those fiber reached. Okay, time to move on.
Okay.
Fiber me, Mark. Give me super broadband.
Oh
Give him
my.
those speeds. Give him those speeds.
Oh my.
Download those megabits.
I got that good speeds.
I'm on fire tonight.
Good.
Are we ready? Clink, clank.
Clink clank. Clink clink.
Gotta fireboard that Terry. Hello and welcome to Strange Happy
Poor
Hour.
Terry.
I am one of your hosts, Brent the Chesterhead Metcalf. Along to my right,
Handsome John Pettit.
and on the left,
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
we of course come to you each and every week to discuss with you the very cool tech news and super nerdy video game news. However, before we start the regular rigmarole, we do have some slight news updates from our large topic last week, where we talked about the Apple Epic Google battle. I have these listed in our Google Doc that you can find in the description, floating right in front of Mark's glasses. It's weird. It's like reflected off the screen, similar to how he's recording right now. Two links, one of which talks about how Microsoft had filed a statement in support of Epic keeping Apple's SDK because Apple had decided they were going to get rid of the tools and the SDK available to Epic by pulling the license at the end of the month of August. So Microsoft filed with the courts a statement of support for Epic, stating that the Unreal Engine is something that is incredibly useful, used by tons of devs on the phone. They should not be suffering from this battle between these two large companies. Afterwards, as early as last night, which would be Monday evening, a state court judge in New York issued a hold on Apple's ability to pull the SDK from Epic. So they will no longer be able to pull the tools away for Unreal Engine specifically. Fortnite still can't come back on the store, but Apple's not allowed to get rid of the developer tools available to Epic. So that means that no one else will be impacted by this currently. Yeah. The judge also noted that this is not a clear-cut case for either company. It's going to take time, and they will have their next hearing about it on September 28th. So those are the updates. Feel free to comment below or hit us up on Twitter. Ooh, the dispatcher's got one himself.
So this was actually something I had seen earlier as well. What I didn't see linked anyway is that other companies apparently had come out, or other app development companies had come out in support of this as well. Notably, Spotify and Tinder.
Interesting. Okay.
They came out and backed this up. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. But now it's time for us to move on to our normal show. Of course, there's tons of news to talk about. A lot has happened this week, which is always fascinating to me. We cannot talk about... Excuse me, how Fall Guys is coming to mobile, but only in China. Come on, why do the Chinese get the best things? We don't have time to discuss the fact that the Sinking City dev alleges publishers withholding income and removing the game from storefronts. That sounds awful. And we also don't have time to discuss how Take-Two Interactive has purchased Playdots for $192 million. Playdots is a mobile developer, if you don't know. However, we do have time to discuss on this very show, like we do each and every week as we come together on this channel, one and all, kind of like the Musketeers, what we dub the important shit. I said it first, motherfuckers. Dispatcher, we're going to move on to you first to talk about some really cool tech news involving fiber. Fiber in your diet. Fiber is good for your diet, kids.
Fiber. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's all about the fiber and all about the advancements
lots of marshmallows.
All about the advancements of fiber.
Fiber and marshmallows.
Yeah. No, so this is going to be kind of more of a subtle one over the next, I'd say, 3 to 5 years, that nobody really is going to see the back end of this, or nobody's really going to see like the upfront, like immediate benefit from this anyway, on the individual basis. Businesses are going to see it probably here in the next year to 3 years, and from a backbone perspective anyway, like it's going to benefit everyone, and nobody even realizes it. Scientists from the University College of London have discovered a new way to increase the data throughput on existing fiber optic cables. So fiber optic cables right now are a strand of very thin, very flexible glass.
Yeah, I do recommend that if anybody's getting fiber installed in your house, don't like pester the person installing it, but you should ask them to show you because they will easily show you. It's incredibly tiny.
It's a really tiny wire looking thing that comes in here, but literally it's a piece of glass that they run that can run up to 40 miles. That they generally run from the street or wherever the distribution is for your neighborhood or your complex, whatever you live in. And run into your apartment and then convert that into an Ethernet signal to run into your modem, which then authenticates you and encrypts your opens up your internet traffic or enables your internet traffic. So University College of London it discovered a new way to increase data transfer rates upwards of 178 terabits per second or 22.25 terabytes per second over fiber. Up to 40 miles at a time on their test anyway was done on a looped piece of fiber optic glass up to 40 miles.
That's awesome.
I want that at my house.
Yeah.
To put that in clarification, no, I can't 100% verify this sizing and everything like that. Linus from Linus Tech Tips had quoted this as the ability to transfer the entire library of Netflix in 1 second.
Oh, man.
Now, here's the problem, though. The lowest common denominator is always what's going to hold you back. So before everybody creams their pants, your modem, your routers, your computer can only go process things so fast before they can throw it out that fast. So, yeah, so don't get me wrong. Super awesome. You will have zero internet issues. It'll all just be your hardware.
So the way that I had seen, the way that this works anyway, is it's an increase in the spectrums of frequencies that are transmitted over the fiber. So fiber optic cables anyway, the whole point of glass is that it's light based. So there's different spectrums of light anyway that you can transmit. Currently, it's all done with lasers. Now, lasers generally get grouped into three categories of colors. Red, green, and blue are the ones that are primarily used. Blue lasers being the most common because they're the most powerful, which is where the whole term Blu-ray comes from, for example, is when red lasers got converted to blue lasers to be used from DVDs to Blu-ray.
Did they change the rock that they took out of the lightsaber to make the light?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So essentially what they're talking about is increasing the amount of frequencies or the range of frequencies that can be used and interpreted on either end of the fiber optic cable to allow just the nodes themselves, the retransmission nodes or the reprocessing nodes, to be upgraded to take the existing fiber lines that are run and upgrade those in that sense. Which for companies like Google, for example, that spent $300 million on a fiber line to run between, it's like New Jersey and London or somewhere in the UK. For them, they could spend the money to upgrade each of their reproduction units or reproduction nodes basically along the chain and literally triple their throughput.
Yeah, because you're talking about going from an average of 60 terabytes per second to,
yes, the terabits
per second.
So the existing is 60 terabits per second. The new one is 178 terabits per second. 22.5 terabytes per second was the other number that I referenced, but that's just a unit conversion. But it's really impressive to see, I guess, that new fiber techs coming into play here, which now what's quoted in the article that's linked down in the description from TechRadar is specifically the use inside large office buildings, like, for example, corporate centers, the ability to use them for 5G towers, for multiple gigabit connections at a time, because 5G towers actually require a decent amount of infrastructure to be able to support the throughput that they get from multiple clients at a time. So I like that this tech is happening. I like that there is more advancement happening. So from the AV side of things, from the the production side of things anyway, fiber optics is sort of an expensive but necessary almost upgrade at some points to upgrade to whenever you get into production world. So if you have your soundboard and your video and all that stuff at the back, digital transmission is sort of the way of the future for that. And fiber is what's referenced very often because you can run it up to 40 miles, which realistically you're talking probably 1,000 feet at most, if you're talking large scale, concert style. But it's almost instantaneous because it's literally speed of light, or instantaneous communication because it's speed of light based. And the conversion process is relatively simple. Now for this anyway, this increases the throughput. And the reason that everyone in the production world tells you to go to fiber if you're going to do anything major like this is because fiber is constantly growing. It's a relatively new tech for what it is, compared to, for example, like RF, that's done either over a coax cable or telephone wire or over the air even, like that, like all of those are relatively old tech by comparison. So fiber optic being such a new space in the way of data transmission is something to look forward to the future, and it's nice to see that the next steps are taking to improve that technology a little bit farther, because I feel like we're almost hitting a law of diminishing returns to some extent in processing power, and like we're hitting the theoretical limits of silicon soon, like we're at 7 nanometers on our transistor sizes. 4 nanometers I think is the limit. Which is still pushing the limit of stability too, which is where they're looking at new materials now. So that's like the next advancement to take in fiber optic world for data transmission, because data transmission is extremely important in a world of instantaneous communication back and forth. I think that this is a great way to go if you can increase the data rates on a commercially viable level.
I hope this 100%. Makes Skype not suck.
So it's not gonna decrease your latency. True. It's not going to make that any better. But if it can provide so latency is still the same. Speed of light is speed of light. Physics is physics. Like there's literally nothing you can do. The speed of light.
Math is math.
The speed of light.
Shitty internet with better internet makes it for better stuff. But again, you're still like limited by your hardware. But I mean, how much of that is like from the hardware, and how much of that is from the the overloading of the servers and having the you can only have so much data to go through.
I'd have to look it up again. I'm going to spout these numbers off.
It's no big deal. I was just curious if you do.
Well, no. So I'm going to spout these numbers off, I guess, from this because I don't know for certain, but this was based on an article I read, I don't know, like 8 months ago. Was that the issue with communication now? Anyways, we've sort of hit the peak from a latency perspective when it goes to transcontinental communication. So, for example, to send a message from Florida to the UK, for example, the speed of light travel time for that is like 14 milliseconds. Now, that's direct, just light transmission. That it doesn't include latency for processing and medium conversion from like a wireless signal to an electrical signal to a light-based signal, and then back, in the reverse order. For example, if you and somebody else are having a video communication, across the wire. 14 milliseconds is the lowest latency that you can possibly get there, and it only gets bigger with each type of medium that you convert from and to, and that's kind of necessary regardless. Like your computer has to take an electrical signal in somehow and then convert it into something that you can view on your screen, but that processing power still takes time. Like that latency is still going to be there. The raw latency is 14 milliseconds, but physics says that we literally can't get any faster than that, short of some other medium, to communicate across that distance of light and space.
Black holes.
There you go. Wormholes, baby. That's what we need.
I think the real big thing is that you're providing more internet to a household, which means you could have more devices without dragging down the full network and those kinds of things. Go ahead.
I was going to say, on the note of the article, realistically, this isn't going to affect the household immediately. What this is going to affect is your larger carriers, your tier 3 providers for internet service, like Hurricane Electric and Google, AT&T. Like, they are going to implement, well, okay, maybe not AT&T, but they're going to implement these at some point down the line to improve their own backbones between each other and across the globe.
Which will eventually impact the household, Mark.
Right, and the idea is that they're going to have that overhead, and once you get there, the overhead then raises the ability then increases for households to have gigabit connections as a baseline standard across the board.
Well, and I'm thinking here, as we continue to live in this COVID world, and it seems like businesses are making some very permanent decisions based off of this year. I mean, they're starting to make sure people are working from home, or even coming in office part-time rather than full-time, or all these things. So that means that you're going to have to become better and more adept at working in your home. And so having better speeds overall is only going to benefit everyone.
Well, and this is something seen across the board with COVID, being a very prevalent thing. And this isn't just telecommunications. This is also, hospitals, for example, is that we've all lived in a world of efficiency. Businesses run on efficiency, and they want to spend the least amount of money for the cheapest viable product they can to offer what the customers want on the other side of it.
We've seen that
their profit margins come in, but we've seen that efficiency really get tested as of the last, 6, 8 months, at this point. So
I was going to say, we've seen our entire country built on efficiency and struggling right now.
I mean, it got to the point where
I've heard no banks complaining whatsoever. Surprisingly.
Oh, no. Legitimately, there are talks of various banks in closing down offices in New York City because they're no longer necessary. They're rolling back the amount of people they're putting in buildings even here in Charlotte. There's just, why have the staff there if you can be efficient and not have people in office? You're spending less money in that regard.
Yep.
Well, that goes into a whole other conversation too about the number of productive work hours and a percentage, on a percentage basis. 30 hours is technically more efficient, than 40 hours a week. That's a whole other argument too. Anyway, from an at-home
people that work
from
home, do they actually work?
Right. Well, and that was the argument, was that 30 hours a week from home is actually more efficient on a percentage of wasted time basis than 40 hours a week, which means that you just hire more people at 30 hours as contractors than you do 40 hours as actual employees.
Well, and two, you don't get the people who are you'll instantly tell the people who are either useless or don't know what they're doing because they're no longer personally going to someone else to figure it out or, being productive. And they're like, so what's going on? And it's like, well, I just kind of lied my way through the interview, so here I am.
Yeah. No, the landscape has definitely changed. Industries have been tested, and telecommunications definitely being one of the big ones. To the point that, and one of the things I wanted to mention too is, on the note of efficiency really getting pushed to the limit is, internet service providers had to talk about slowing down traffic that was not considered essential. Educational work traffic, whatever it was, was going to get slowed, non-educational, non-work traffic was going to get slowed because it would be considered non-essential. Now that became a difficult argument of, fine, net neutrality rules have technically been rolled back here, so you can do that, but do you really want to open that door? Do you really want to open Pandora's box on that one? And they decided ultimately not to do that. Just because it's sort of, I don't know whether they found a way to balance it out. I just kind of stopped hearing about the issue after.
Or they realized they didn't actually have to.
I was going to say, I think it was more of a precaution at that point of in case we get this far, we should start having the discussion.
And also, instead of pissing people off the bat, let's just see, roll the dice. It's not going to be catastrophic anyway. We'll figure it out after the fact.
Right. And I guess part of the point here is, this kind of research anyway definitely opens up doors for a lot of companies like this. Google is going to be probably one of the first ones in line for this kind of technology to improve their transcontinental throughput or their global throughput, between data centers for them, because their ability to move data back and forth across borders, across the ocean, whatever it is kind of crucial for them. And the quicker they can do it, the better. It saves them a lot of money. It saves them a lot of time. In the sense of what they provide to everyone and you, the consumer. So this is good tech to see. It's good progression to see. I'm sorry, I said 40 miles. I'm sorry, that's 40 kilometers. 40 kilometers.
That's a difference.
Yeah, that's a bit of a difference. No, but...
yeah, it's 2 miles. I don't understand how that works. Yeah, we're in the United States.
Quite.
Math is math.
See, I've been watching Friends, and to quote Rachel, fucking metric system. No, but no,
I think she said fucking on Friends.
Probably not, but whatever. I'm paraphrasing. No, it's good to see. I'm glad to see that this tech's moving forward. I'm glad to see that there's an advancement in fiber optic space since it came out. I'm only more excited to see what kind of more precise materials we get in the future to make this even better.
Yes, and please let us know what you think in the comments floating to the right of me, just over John's beard, about the fiber increase. Do you think that you need this? Are you excited for it? Are you willing to wait the 5 to 10 years to see actual impact?
Do you need 178 terabits a second in your household? Probably not.
You better believe that I do. You have no idea what I would torrent. I don't torrent anything.
Honestly, I'm happy
Check
with
me, FBI.
100 megabits per second. I don't. There is no use for that in household whatsoever.
I love how John's like, I'm happy with above what we have now, from 60 to 100. I don't need 170. 3 digits is fine with me. Please let us know in the comments floating around John's beard. On to our next topic of the show, which comes from Handsome John himself as he swats the comments away. Boom! He doesn't want to hear nothing. We're talking about advertising. Again with the business talk, John. Why?
So, wow. Thank you, Chrome, for crashing at the right moment. You piece of shit.
You know, you could probably go down the road to Burger King.
Doing
use
it
their
from
internet.
mind right now. I'm going to sit here and have to do some stuff from the brain.
You could probably go down the road to Burger King and use their internet.
Yeah, I know. So, interestingly enough, there was some... You know what? Just give me a second. There's some drama involving Burger King advertisement and Twitch, which I found to be very interesting, mainly for the fact that I didn't think that this would even be possible, but it is.
It did bring up a point or a situation I never thought would be a thing, and now has me intrigued as well as to what you can do about it.
When I first read this story, I thought it was a bunch of bullshit. At first, it didn't catch my mind. I think it happened probably a week ago. I heard about it. People were complaining about Burger King, and I was like, in their advertisement, and I was like, no, I'm not reading that right now. And then and then all of a sudden, you popped up this story on the newsfeed, and I was like, oh, this became a thing. So streamers are furious after basically the companies are bypassing their advertisement money through donations and advertising through a speech program through the Twitch app.
Twitch, yeah.
And to be honest, I find this absolutely creative. Like, it's awful what they did. But absolutely, you know what? They found a way around it, and, kudos on you. You found the loophole. They're going to close it.
Well, one can only hope, but yeah.
So essentially what was happening were streamers were doing their thing, and then Burger King would come on, and they would donate, an exact amount of money it would cost in order to buy a set of products no greater than $5. So you can get, a set of chicken nuggets, a drink, and, a Whopper for $5. And then
Burger King is advertising this show, by the way.
Huh?
Said Burger King is advertising this show, by the way.
Burger King is not advertising the show.
They're not. And so what they would do is after the donation, they would be able to type in what they want through the speech program. And what they would type in was the advertisement stating what they could buy with the amount of money they just essentially donated.
Yeah, because that's a feature on Twitch. If you donate a certain amount and you're part of a tier, you can say a donation and then give like a little comment to that streamer. The whole point is that you're able to communicate with them.
Well, that doesn't even come with the necessary level of subscription. Anybody can donate to a streamer, and generally it will pop up on their So the big thing is that it pops up with a notification sound and shows up with some animation or whatever on screen on that streamer's display.
Well, this
and
is
most of the time they read it.
Speech program.
Yeah,
so
this is text to speech. It's reading to them.
Said out loud. So if you want to check out the Kotaku article that we have down below, you'll be able to check out both the advertisements that Burger King was using that they made with these streams and what they exactly did on the streams themselves. What is so interesting is that the streamers were not involved in this whatsoever. They were not paid any advertisement money. They weren't even asked to be able to be used in their advertisements later on through their collection of streams that they did, and in replacing what they were streaming with fake video games, so they wouldn't run into any issues with, copyright issues. Mm-hmm. So that in itself, it's super cheap on their part, saying I'm going to get $5 for this, get a reaction, get a set of reactions, and throw that on Twitter, and that is going to be essentially used as advertisement. A multi-billion-dollar company bypassing what they would have to pay through advertisement, which the streamer would get more money, and two, the streamers could decide if they want them advertising for them anyway. Because say they had an advertisement, I would, to me, if I had Taco Bell as a sponsor, and all of a sudden I got Burger King crashing my stream and violating my contract against my will, that could be an issue. That was not something that was said or talked about, but I'm assuming that could potentially be a problem.
So I think the big thing here is that the FTC requires streamers and other influencers to announce their advertisements, right? You see it on Twitter all the time, #ad. Yeah. Any large channel that has advertisers, they have to notify it. Even as simple as something like the Kinda Funny group, when they get games from PlayStation, they have to make sure it's known to the consumer, this is a game provided by PlayStation. So the fact
it takes away the bias. They're like thinking they spent money on it because they like it, and that's not necessarily the case.
Well, it's informing the consumer. It's important for a consumer to understand exactly how these people are getting these products, because you're right. They're not spending money on it. Now you know why. I think this is like the reverse, but not illegal. And that's what bothers me, is that these advertisers can come onto your stream, advertise themselves against your consent, and you have no say over it.
Well, it's a gray area. Like there's no precedent here, like this is something that's brand new, because Twitch is kind of a gray area space as far as, making money and advertising and all that's concerned to some extent in the first place. Like, don't get me wrong, it's been around for long enough now that, like some laws have been adapted for this, but like, this is this is a new avenue. Who the hell knows? Who the hell would have thought? Like some marketing guy at Burger King is getting a massive promotion and a raise right now because
100%.
Unintended consequence here of not only did they just pay, probably $100, let's say, or $500, let's say at most, to a couple hundred streamers anyway to have their products advertised.
Yeah.
But they
got their advertisement through the streamers without their permission. Not only that, but they also took the videos of those streamers and their reactions, blurred out their faces in order to make their advertisement.
To make an actual commercial that is now being utilized.
And I'm like, but there's so many things wrong with that. It's not even funny. I mean, on an ethical level, but at the same time, there has to be an FTC violation, because it's an advertisement that's happening through a stream by a streamer who didn't willingly or knowingly or unknowingly.
But it's not.
Yeah, as far as I can tell,
it's a
there's
donation.
no ruling there.
Like, how do you classify what's a paid advertisement and a donation in that
because
respect?
They paid them, and then they wrote out an advertisement. It's obviously an advertisement.
But
they even marketed it afterwards as an advertisement.
So the problem is that technically the FTC should come down on the streamers for that.
That's another reason why I think they're pissed off.
Technically, they actually come down the streams, or they have to create a new regulation. The thing right now is there isn't a regulation space for this, right? It's no different, honestly, than if you're... The closest analogy I can think of is if you go onto a radio and they interview you, and in the middle of the interview, you decide to shill, your company or whatever. Like, that's literally the closest analog we have.
I mean,
it's kind of the closest analog we have here, but that's not illegal. You're allowed to do that. You're asking for information. And in this sense, it's also not illegal because, again, the system set up, streamers can decide to turn that off if they don't want that feature, and you're just asking for people to talk with you as they give you money.
Right.
It's shady as shit.
Yeah, it is.
But there's no law broken.
But it's a multi-billion-dollar company finding a way to cut their advertisement cost at other people's expense.
But now, to be honest, it's playing the system.
Obviously backfiring a little bit, but how many people are really going to hear about this? Which is one reason why I wanted to talk about this.
So the unintended consequence here is it's not even necessarily the advertising campaign itself of them donating and running the advertisement themselves, or even making the advertisement. Video and running it themselves after blurring the streamers' faces out. But the articles and the conversations that happen after the fact are the unintended consequence there. It's the whole, and I bring this up a lot because this, to me, was the perfect example of it, was Amazon and Man in the High Castle. High Tower.
High Castle.
Was it High Castle? Okay.
Yeah,
like
Man in
they did one New York subway with a ton of swastikas and advertisements for Man in the High Castle. But that was it. That's all they paid for. But there was so much press that everybody knew about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's so much unintended consequence here.
Bad
and they
press
probably
is
knew
still
before.
good press in a lot of ways. You go to the line and then you back off from it and everybody gets happy, but you still got done what you intended to do.
But that's the thing. I think that Burger King probably knew what they were doing in this advertisement campaign. I imagine they had legal teams behind them saying, yeah, maybe like there's not really a defined space here. This is kind of new territory, which to some marketing exec was probably like, perfect. Let's do it.
The problem is it wasn't Burger King technically. It was an advertisement company called Ogilvy. They also work with brands like Dove and IBM. Now, apparently they're very good at what they do. But the issue that we're also running into is that it takes away the free speech of the streamer itself, because they're basically having their options taken away for their job, their livelihood. They're taking money away from them. And they're promoting something that they never necessarily got to agree to. It's different when you have an ad that runs in your stream. It's another when it happens while you are live on stream.
Sure, but my
argument.
My thing here
I was just gonna say, go ahead, Mark. You want it? Get it?
No, so my thing here is they're providing this. Mm-hmm. They're opening that door in the first place. Realistically, realistically, if one streamer decided they were going to take, Ogilvy to court over it, or Burger King even, because they're technically the contract holder on this, to court on it, realistically, I don't think that they'd have much of a leg to stand on, because they opened the door for this. They allowed this for anybody to do this. So
the problem is that you literally put it out there. That argument of taking away their freedom of speech doesn't work on the grounds of the fact that they're inviting people in. And that just is literally anybody. Like somebody could tip $5 and say, hey, I'm a fucking Nazi, and it would read it out. Unless they have Twitch has something on their end to prevent that.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe.
I do think what you're talking about with the income, though, is incredibly important, right?
Well,
Streamers typically do make
things after you're done.
I was going to say, streamers typically make income off of two ways, which is one through the actual donations of their viewers, and the other one being making deals. So they will sign up with a company. And so in this way, like having Burger King come in and invade their stream, it does endanger other prospects, right? If anybody is trying to make an advertising deal with them, they get involved in this. An article's written about it. Now they're quoted in it. I'm sure McDonald's or whomever may want to back off because they're not sure if they want to get involved with drama, even though it's not their fault. And B, the fact that Burger King literally could have paid these streamers to have them advertise on there, and they could have seen some of that income, but it cost more money for Burger King, which is why they didn't do it.
Yeah. But I think this is interesting because it's opening up a new landscape for this. It's going to create new regulation. It's going to open up a new space
100%.
of what is and isn't acceptable here. Because the other thing too is blame still hasn't been put necessarily one way or the other. Don't get me wrong. From the social perspective, sure. Ogilvy Burger King technically also is getting held liable and responsible for this from a social perspective, but we've already said this, there's no such thing as bad press. Like you're going to get promoted in one way or the other.
Yeah. I think it was wrong they even used their blurred face. It's one thing if it was like an audio thing or something, but
from a legal perspective, there's really nothing wrong with that. Like that's the issue, Like
we're talking about there's a difference between what is morally right and what is ethically right and what is legally right.
Oh, 100%. And legally right, unfortunately, is the only thing from a dollars and cents perspective that matters. Morals and ethics don't necessarily translate into negative, breaking moral and ethic.
Just put it this way: if their morals and ethics are bad on their advertisement, what are they doing in your food?
But
again, I definitely agree with that.
100%. But what I'm saying is that doesn't necessarily translate to a loss in revenue for them. Like in essence, their name got out there more. So you may have forgotten about Burger King, but you saw a bad article about them. So you're thinking, well, maybe I don't know. I haven't been there in a while, so let me go there. That kind of thing.
Well, it affected a very niche community, but they were also advertising to said niche community, and these people that pay attention to these streamers understand what happened and how these streamers feel about it. So therefore, it is going to affect them. So
and
you could technically shoot yourself in the foot twice.
The diehards of this, like the diehard fans of these streamers, 100%, they're going to be the ones that are going to lash out. But I would argue, in the grand scheme of it, they're relatively small.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but like the
dime in
passive,
the bucket, but at the same time, like there's a
the
lot.
passive watchers.
This is going to be a lot of dimes in that bucket that are missing.
Oh, I know, but what I'm saying is, like, you have to have those people that are dedicated to those streamers and think that, oh no, you hurt somebody that I care about, kind of thing, and that's a different argument, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think what's interesting will be maybe not necessarily from the legal standpoint, because I'm not quite sure if this one incident is large enough to have people try and bring it to court or law or anything like that. Though I think it should be looked at. Hence why we're talking about it. I'm really curious to see what Twitch is going to do on their end, because I feel like this is also bad press for Twitch in a way, because this is now a system in place that can be completely manipulated, and if there's not a stopgap.
Good.
I was just going to say, I mean, like, that's kind of my handy thing, but like, you can literally put something in place of like, hey, you're not allowed to advertise companies here on streams or whatever, and if you do, you have to clarify in a user profile that you create and all this other thing.
So the problem with donations is donations don't run through Twitch, always. A lot of times donations run through third-party services. There's no requirement necessarily, unless you're, a specific Twitch partner or a certain level to do that. To my understanding, anyway. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Twitch is going to care.
I don't think they'll care until there's legal things, unfortunately.
Right. So, but this is because from the article that I thought. Oh, go ahead.
I would say Twitch is a Bezos product. Bezos doesn't care. Yeah. His company doesn't care unless there's legal action against him or some money on the line. He really doesn't care. They don't care. Whatever. I think Twitch is not going to care. Yeah.
Quite literally, when Kotaku reached out to Twitch to ask for more information on whether or not it's even allowed, they said that it was not involved in this particular ad campaign. We're looking for opportunities to create and innovate campaigns with leading brands. While we welcome it, we're not involved with the Burger King promotion. And I'm like, that's just such a good dodge. Like, yeah, it's not our fault.
I would say that they accomplished their goal in finding a new and innovative way of running an advertisement campaign.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. It'll be curious. I am super curious to see if this is going to be utilized in another run.
I don't think, until like the legal landscape changes, like sure, it's the Wild West now. Like any company can really come in and do that because nobody's made any moves on this yet. So, anybody could come in and say, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that real quick, until the legal landscape changes for this.
The way I look at this is that someone went into my yard and threw $5 at me and then stuck a sign in the ground without asking. They just threw $5 at me and then stuck a sign in the ground. And it says...
That only works if your yard is a rental property and the owner of the rental property doesn't care that they stick the sign in there.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is you've invited.
It's totally agreeable.
You've invited that option for them to stick that sign there.
You've invited the option for them to stick the money in there, not necessarily.
You don't have to be obligated to say or do
the owner
anything.
Invited the sign.
And, fine. So let's take the sign away. They literally just stood in their yard and started screaming out profanities, or whatever the fuck they want.
But what I'm saying is, like, you basically at that point have created a public space with a sign that says open to the public for them to come in and scream things out as long as they put money in the tip jar. Like that's literally what this is. You know, like if they get on their soapbox and scream about, hey, buy a Whopper and this or whatever for the $5 I just put in the tip jar. Well, technically you let them do that. Like you opened that door for them to do that.
It's super low brow. I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't care how you look at it. Like, you want to look like a cheap piece of shit. That's one way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I agree.
There's no going back from, you just screwed over people who play video games for a living and stream it to other people who are already struggling, and you're like, let me take more from you.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Burger King's the final say on this. Like, Ogilvy is an advertising company, which means that they pitch their advertisement campaign to Burger King first. Burger King accepts that pitch, and then they go through with it.
We all know that these companies don't really know what the hell's going on. They rely on those companies to know what they're doing. They like the idea, but I don't think they culturally understood what they were doing.
Well, regardless, they still signed off on a campaign of
I just
utilizing.
Don't think they looked that deep into
I do find it funny though that I do find it funny that Ogilvy's tweet literally says Burger King turned Twitch's donation feature into a marketing campaign.
Yes, 100%.
Technically, their contract probably allows them to say that because, well, Burger King signed off on it. So
correct. Yeah.
We developed the idea. That's all we did. They're the ones who said yes.
Yeah. Any last thoughts before we move on to our final topic?
All right, so I'm going to say that just for the sake of argument, I think what Burger King did was absolutely wrong, and I think that there should be something done to stop this from happening in the future.
I don't disagree. So I think that it's an interesting landscape, and honestly I think it just falls into the line of like the internet is still the Wild West despite the fact that we have a lot of rules and there's lots of things we have to look at, and this is just let's tack another one to the chalkboard. Folks, we'll come back to you later.
I guess my final thought on this is a similar perspective of the devil's advocate on this of technically I mean it depends on how the FTC looks at this really. Technically, a streamer was paid for an advertisement, and it was put out there that it was as an advertisement, and technically, the streamer is supposed to be responsible for saying that it was an advertisement.
But the thing is, it wasn't an advertisement to them.
To them, it wasn't. Have an issue. But that's a perspective issue. So it depends on how the FTC rules on this.
So I want to clarify something because you said it was put out there to the streamer that it was an advertisement. It wasn't. It is literally like they person who donated for Burger King literally would just type, hey, you could take this $5 and go buy a burger combo at Burger King. So there was no forewarning to the streamer that there are ads coming along or something along those lines. So therefore, they don't even have the opportunity to say, I condone this or not.
Well, so the other side of this is that I don't think the FTC would, even if the legal perspective of this is, well, technically, like it was an advertisement on the streamer's content, and the streamer didn't clarify this specifically as an advertisement. Burger King or
all I want to say is the lawsuits that will ensue on this, if FTC does declare these advertisements and these people lose sponsorships, it will cost them a hell of a lot more than what it would be just to pay them for the advertisement.
Yeah, well, so the rate could definitely go up because, I mean, like advertisements on Twitch and YouTube and whatever, there's a market rate depending on your following, like the number of subscribers. I mean,
if they did it to someone like Ninja, for instance, would be catastrophic if like someone like KFC or Taco Bell dropped them. I mean, millions of dollars.
I definitely think there's a reason why they picked the streamers they did.
And that's the thing too. If like the advertisers that they actually have in line, I would imagine. So the difference there is that there's a human element to that of whoever their marketing relations person that they talk to is going to see that from a realistic perspective and go, well, look, that wasn't your fault. Like we know that wasn't your fault, so we're not going to fault you for the fact that you had an advertisement through a donation service, that kind of thing. Like they know that landscape. They know better than to do that. If they drop them, to be honest, that company's run by idiots at that point to me. Like you know that this is kind of a farce. Like you really shouldn't go off of this. But no, I'm more interested to see how the FTC does this because from a legal perspective, maybe they could do something. I don't think they will. I think they're going to look at this as a gray area and decide to create new regulation around this, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, agree. Please let us know what you think about the whole Burger King Twitch fiasco in the comments floating directly in front of my microphone, but not in front of my hand. So, Mark, I need you to move the comment section right here.
He never does this.
I know, it's a laziness, I know you edit the show and you put it all together and you're the one who puts it on YouTube and all. Laziness is all.
But you have all the money. Get it done.
You didn't even see the crown on John's head like 2 episodes ago from the whole like King fiasco or King thing we were talking about.
I did see
Okay.
that.
That's because I didn't watch it on
Friday.
YouTube. I listened to it on the podcast.
All right, well, there you go.
Which you can
Yeah,
listen
make
to on all
make-
podcast services around the globe.
Now I have to go look at it.
Time to move on to our final topic of the show, which is my topic. I'm going to discuss, you can't see it because Mark always crops the video like right here. But if we just can edit the video a little bit this way, Batman, DC, it looks really cool. Market, there you go. Yeah, we're coming back. We're talking about the DC fandom. In case you don't know or haven't picked up because you don't watch the show, I love DC, specifically Batman. But the universe as a whole. I enjoyed the the CW universe. I enjoy the movies despite how terrible they are, at least the newer ones. But DC has done something I think is really, really cool where there was no major Comic-Con this year due to COVID. There was no major event. So rather than trying to cobble together panels on the other other services and their online stuff, they had some, like there was a couple at the digital Comic-Con. They have made their own fandom, is what they call it. I say that specifically because it's FAN capital DOME fandom, where they got together the biggest people in DC to talk about everything. They had an all digital 2-day event over the past weekend where they had interviews with directors, actors, video game companies on every project they're working on rolling out over the course of the next 2 years. These are the major projects. I think ironically didn't talk about comics once. It's like movies and video games, but no comics. However, still really cool. They started off the conference talking about Wonder Woman 1984, showed off a brand new trailer where we got to see the final look of Cheetah, who is one of the big bads in the film. That was really cool. Kristen Wiig looks phenomenal in it. I'm personally a really big fan of her, and seeing her in a more dramatic and comic booky role, but something that's a little bit more off kilter from her typical quirky comedy is great.
Comedic shtick is great.
Yeah, and also just, Gal Gadot is amazing as Diana Prince in Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. She looks the part. She's cute. I'm not going to deny that either. But she really does a great job encompassing that character, I think, in a way that we don't see a whole lot. One, in superheroes, not to say that we are over inundated with superheroes, right? But I feel like most characters are men, so to me, there's a lot of masculine vibes. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. But seeing her as this kind of strong woman, but also very caring and gentle at the right times, not just to the characters that she knows, but the sequences with her, and a little girl, and these little shots from the trailer or from the first movie. I think she does a phenomenal job of it.
You literally took the words out of my mouth of she's got that strong vibe, but still caring,
Yeah.
It's got cats in it. Mark's there.
Yep, it does have cats in it, and it's going to be better than the movie Cats. So,
oh please, anything could be better than the movie Cats.
I figured that was your favorite movie of all time.
I was about to say that's erotic cat porn.
Actually,
that's not how that works.
I completely wanted to see the movie after the patch that they released. Fun fact: I didn't know that movies could get patches, but this movie got patched.
Yeah, because they had cat buttholes. Speaking of which, they did slate the film for 1984
I did know that.
to be released on October 2nd of 2020. Next up was WB Montreal's Batman game. So if you do not know the drama behind WB Montreal, they are the developers that came behind Rocksteady to develop the third Arkham game. So there's Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins would be the third game. Yeah. People like to ignore it, despite the fact that it's a very good game. It is a little off compared to the regular Arkham games, but fantastic, and had one of the better stories. I really, really, really like the story of Arkham Origins. Moving forward, they were working on a plethora of games. There was all kinds of pitches. They pitched their own Suicide Squad game. There would be a multiplayer romp. That was canceled. They pitched a different game that had nothing to do with Batman. And finally, we got to understand what it is that they're making after being teased for nearly nearly over a year.
A year now,
it was 370 days they were teasing this game. We finally get Batman Gotham Knights. So Batman Gotham Knights is not set in the Arkham universe, so it is a different Batman game. One, huge fan, and I'll talk about why at the end of my spiel.
They said it was set in the Arkham universe.
It is not.
Oh.
Arkham Knights is not. Trailer
Arkham
that
Knights
showed,
or Gotham Knights?
Sorry, my God. This is my brain fucking up. Yeah, Batman Gotham Knights is not set in the Arkham universe.
I was wondering, because there is an Arkham Knight game, too.
Yes, correct, yes. So Batman Gotham Knights teaser trailer showcases Bruce Wayne sending an emergency video to Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, and Red Hood, who is an ex-Robin, that he is dead. He is dead. Soon the villains of Gotham are going to find out. I need you guys to cover the ground. And he also mentions that Jim Gordon is dead, so you can't trust the GCPD. And go. So the game is a large open world story game that allows you to play with one other friend throughout the entire campaign. You would each select a character. You would move through it. It is an action RPG, so there will be levels, but it appears to be incredibly open in its story, in which you will tackle villains and their storylines in any order that you want. So you could come to, Mr. Freeze's storyline, fight him at level 5, and he will have less tricks, techniques, abilities than he would at level 15.
It feels like a lot like Horizon Zero Dawn, how they did theirs a little bit.
Agreed.
Though there were some harder enemies, but it was very open world, or like Zelda Breath of the Wild.
You said Mr. Freeze, and all I can think is, honey, where is my super suit?
Yeah, where is my super suit? They did show off a 13-minute gameplay demo to show how the gameplay is different per character. It looks very cool. It does very much remind me of Arkham series, which is not surprising. They worked on it. It's what people are familiar with the Batman gang. But having the difference in playable characters, like Red Hood is someone who uses guns, feels very different than Robin. Robin doesn't even have the ability to glide. He uses the Justice League satellite to teleport short distances because he has access to it. Like, each one is going to have different movements, different abilities to really showcase some cool stuff. I think this is one that John and I are going to dive in hardcore because I love the Arkham games. Open world is something that I really thrive on more than I like to admit, and action RPG in Gotham, I'm in.
I'm actually looking really forward to Robin just because, much like in the Ninja Turtles, there's not very many games that have bow staff weapons and done well, and so I'm really looking forward to see what they can do with this.
Yeah, the only one I wasn't a fan of is Red Hood, and I like Red Hood as a character, but I could care less to shoot with guns. Like, I just don't want to shoot with guns.
I totally will do that too. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Like the nightstick, all of it is interesting to me. So
it also looks like each character that you play as has their own story line as well. So super interested to see more. That is coming in 2021. We will update you further. It is going to be launching on current gen consoles as well as next gen and PC. So stay tuned for more. Moving on past that, we got the reveal of the Suicide Squad full cast film. If you're not aware, James Gunn, the same director who directed Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, is coming in to make the next Suicide Squad movie, and it appears to be a slight reboot. It's not canonically rebooting everything, but they're just kind of ignoring the last film while bringing the characters everyone liked along with them. So Harley Quinn's in there, Captain Boomerang, Amanda Waller, and I'm pretty sure that's it. I think the rest of them are all gone.
Really?
Rick Flag is also there. But yes, the rest of them are gone, and they're being replaced.
Deadshot's not going to be there?
Nope, no Deadshot. So they're replacing him with a star-studded cast. Very excited about this. So Idris Elba is in there, playing as a character named as Bloodsport.
Okay.
Of course, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. John Cena as Peacemaker, who on the video, because they did this whole video reel showcasing the characters, some little icon art, and then clip of an interview with that actor. John Cena's was absolutely the best because he's like, so the direction I got was Captain America but douchier. Okay. Jai Courtney returning as Captain Boomerang, Joel Kinnaman returning as Rick Flag, David Dashmalin as the Polka Dot Man. David Dashmalin, I think is how you pronounce his name, is the character in the Dark Knight movies who is, if you remember when they tried to assassinate Jim Gordon, this is like a long stretch, but yeah, I promise you pay off. They try to assassinate Jim Gordon, Joker there with the firing squad, he gets away, but they capture one guy who has, Rachel Dawes' name on his name tag. That actor is Polka Dot Man. I had to really connect the dots because I saw him and I was like, "You look so familiar."
That wasn't the same. Okay, maybe this is my brain playing tricks on me. This isn't the same guy who played Scarecrow, is he?
No, different one. Different one. But that would be great. I do love that actor. Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher 2, which is interesting that they're going with the second iteration instead of the first, but that's fine. Steve Agee as King Shark. I'm actually a big fan of the King Shark character, so I'm excited to see what they do with him. It's all going to be mocap CGI. James Gunn's brother Sean Gunn is going to play a character named Weasel, who's just like a giant, anthropomorphic weasel. Flora Borg as Javelin. Yes. Nathan Fillion as TDK. Peter Capaldi.
My boy.
Yes, Nathan Fillion. Peter Capaldi is the Thinker. Pete Davidson is Blackguard. Pete Davidson is in this movie. That blew me away. Alice Braga as Sal Soria. Mei Ling Nig. Is Nig? I don't know. NG is her last name. As Mongol. Michael Rooker as Savant, who played Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy. Storm Reed as Tyla, Jennifer Holland as Amelia Harcourt, and Juan Diego Boto as Luna. So that's a large cast, right?
How many people is that?
About 20.
All right, 20 people divided by 3 or even 2 hours.
Yes. So
that's like 2 minutes per person.
I wanted to nail down the cast specifically because the direction they're going with this movie is that it is going to be in the same style as a 1970s war film. Yes. Thank you. That was my reaction too. But now I'm so excited because this is so different than the original movie. Like, what's the worst that can happen? It's just as bad as the original. Okay. If it's better, even better. But it's so intriguing because it's such a weird...
Yeah, it's such a weird mesh of things here. How do you even pull off like a Vietnam era war film? Like, what is this?
Are we talking like Full Metal Jacket?
Yes, like that era of film. So... we'll see more. Again, they're very much teasing it. It's filming just wrapped before COVID, middle COVID. I don't know. They're finishing up the film now. They're moving into edits. Again, James Gunn is very much involved into it. And there's a rumor that Taika Waititi is also playing in cameo. So super excited about that. After that, they announced that a Static Shock movie is in the works.
Super excited for this.
Yes, if you don't remember, Static Shock is based off of the character Static, one of the first major prominent DC black superheroes, though not the only one, that came around in the 1980s. He had a really good animated series that started in the late 90s, early 2000s that we really enjoyed as Chillins. They also showed off a trailer for the Snyder Cut teaser and revealed some more information on this. So Zack Snyder's cut of the 2017 Justice League is going to be turned into a 4-part, 1 hour per part miniseries. So it's 4 hours worth of Justice League. They are removing a ton of the edits that Joss Whedon put in, which includes pretty much every reshoot of Superman. So all of the issues with Superman's mustache being formed into a weird lip will be gone away because none of that footage is going to make it back into the film. They're cutting a lot of content, including in the ending or in the finale. There's like a whole storyline with Flash and a Russian family. That's gone. The way that Steppenwolf dies is gone because that was all tied to how Joss Whedon wanted the character to be portrayed, including like the whole thing with parademons and fear. There's a lot of content that was put into this movie I did not realize that Joss Whedon specifically asked for, and they're using pretty much everything that was already shot. So none of the actors are coming back for reshoots. They're all going to be in their same characters, but we're going to see a lot of things that were taken out, including Black Suit Superman, which a lot of fans are excited for.
Did you tell me that we're going to see Superman with a mustache?
So no, during the time of the reshoots for the Justice League, what's his name? The actor?
No.
The same guy who played The Witcher.
I know.
Did you figure it out, Mark?
Died.
Thank you. He was currently, or at the time he was filming...
Henry Cavill.
Thank you, Henry Cavill. He was filming the Mission Impossible movie, and contractually he was not allowed to shave his mustache for that film. So they brought him back for reshoots and then used CGI to cover up the mustache very poorly. So if you watch Justice League right now, like the scene where he gets revived, you can see his lip kind of disappears before it really forms. It's very odd. None of it looks good. It looks real bad.
I'll have to watch that back again. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I can probably... I'm sure there are YouTube clips of all of it. Yeah.
Because like I remember him in Fallout, but I don't remember that in specifically Justice League. Okay.
It was a huge deal. WB paid a lot of money to CGI very poorly the mustache off his face. But I mean, they're talking about they're spending $30 million to produce this iteration of Snyder's vision for this movie. Like full on redoing a lot of the CGI for pretty much the entirety of the film.
They'll make their money back on that, I think, but I don't think they're gonna do much better.
Yeah. What I was gonna say was I find this interesting. It seems like from all the content you're talking about them removing, is that it seems like they've gone with the shotgun approach of they almost don't know what they want out of this yet. So they're just like, fuck it, we'll film everything. And then we'll just figure out what we do and don't want after the fact. But there's probably going to be a massive release of all of the cut scenes, out of this. So
I will say that during the filming of Justice League, one of the reasons why Joss Whedon was brought in is because unfortunately Zack Snyder and his wife, who was a producer on the film, lost their daughter. So they had to be taken away. So a lot of the direction and decisions they went and had stuck to their guns on, because DC was reportedly not very happy with the direction they were going because it was very dark compared to what they were expecting. As soon as he was gone, they were like, okay, cool, we can change it how we want. We're bringing in Joss Whedon.
Good for them. They get what they deserve.
Yes. But they also, this ties in a little bit to the next point, which is they also detailed the Flash movie. So the Flash movie is still on the table. Ezra Miller, who played the Flash in Justice League, will be coming back along with Batfleck. Ben Affleck is coming back to reprise his role as Batman, and Michael Keaton is coming back to reprise his role as Batman from the Tim Burton film. Because the Flash movie will take place across a multiverse. Thus, DC confirming that their movies and TV shows are now all taking place in the same multiverse. So they don't have to have a continuity like Marvel of, hey, we're telling one story across all these things. We can have multiple stories, and they can eventually tie together, or we can just fuck off because that was a bad storyline.
I mean, if you look at Marvel, technically they did the same thing with X-Men, but it's a whole other thing.
Technically, no, because Fox owned X-Men and Marvel did it, and they're just like, you're not a part of us. And Fox is like, we're making X-Men movies, people like it. And you're like, yeah, nobody likes it.
Yeah, but that was the whole thing of Days of Future Past was... Yeah, we didn't like the original storyline, so we're just going to create a movie that creates continuity between the original universe and the new universe.
Logan, to me, is still the best X-Men film.
Absolutely. Yep. It's one of the best modern Westerns of all time. I think it's more drastic only because this is, rather than taking a franchise, they're basically throwing out the fact that they can make any storyline now and it doesn't matter, which is what I've said they should be doing. I've said it over and over on the show. They should do this because now we can have Superman Red Son live action. I want a communist Superman raised in Russia killing Batman. Make it happen, DC, with Henry Cavill. That would be even more incredible. And Batfleck. That would be amazing.
Crazy. Yeah. I really don't like Ben Affleck as Batman.
I know you don't. I think he's fine. I think he could have been better. I think he needed more screen time.
Him and Val Kilmer are both in competition with each other.
Oh, man, no. George Clooney was a worse Batman than Val Kilmer. We can talk about that after the show. They also detailed another movie of theirs called the Black Adam movie. So this is starring The Rock as the villain Black Adam, which is weird because Black Adam is a villain to Shazam, which had a movie recently come out. Doesn't matter. Rock is basically big enough. They're like, we're making your own movie, and we'll tie you in eventually. But the big news is that they're tying him into the Justice Society of America. This is an older society, younger than the Justice League. Older than the Justice League, that involves Hawkman, Martian Manhunter, like all these other characters that are older in there. They're only including 5 characters for the movie, which includes Dr. Fate, Cyclone, Hawkman, and I can't remember the other 2. They're important, I promise. I just brain plus time. So very cool. The Rock is incredibly excited to join on this. He's actually going into this pretty hard, which he does for a lot of his projects. I do appreciate that about him, is like when he's in a project, it's his project. He's all about it. And so having him involved,
it's all about family.
It's all about family, yes. Is interesting. And I'm super excited to see what they do. Atom Smasher is another character in there. I just caught that. Anyways, I'm really curious to see what they're doing. They're claiming this will come out on December 22nd of 2021. The final announcement is by far the most exciting, though we still don't really know anything else about it other than this really cool teaser trailer, which is Rocksteady's new project. Rocksteady finished Arkham Knight in 2015. We have been like foaming at the mouth trying to figure out what the hell they've been working on, because my God, they make amazing games. I want to play more. And we got an amazing teaser trailer for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which stars Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and King Shark. It is going to be a 4-player or single-player game. You can play online with friends or by yourself. Open world experience where you will take on the Justice League, and this takes place in the Arkham universe, as far as we can tell, after Arkham Knight. So the trailer has a real. You should highly recommend watching it. Arkham Knight.
Okay.
Not Gotham Knight. Arkham Knight. Gotham Knight by itself. Arkham Knight with everyone else.
See, the cool thing is that you'll be able to switch between the characters
if you play solo.
Single. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I'm really excited for this. You should definitely watch the trailer because I think it's a pretty well done CGI trailer for teasing a game. This game will not be out until 2022. They confirmed that, but they wanted to let everyone know this is what they have been working on. And the trailer ends with Superman killing a motherfucker real bad. So check it out. I am super stoked for this game. Another game that John and I will join, and maybe we can convince you to join us, Mark, because it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm down.
Agreed.
Woo! But please let us know what you think about the DC Fandome. This is part 1 of 2. They will have another one in September, which I'm very curious to see if they have any other highlights, because I feel like this one's pretty jam-packed. As a DC fan, I was on Twitter all weekend just trying to get everyone's reactions and figure out what's going on. I'm a huge, huge fan of their games specifically, but their movie series are fun too. Cannot wait to see what they have. Please let us know in the comments floating directly above me like a cowl. Batman ears. But now I think it's time for last call.
Last
call! Tainted by the burp. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Of course, we are still in our quarantine bunkers. Expect it probably through the end of 2020. However, we don't not drink just because we're alone, because that would be normal for us. So I'm sitting over here drinking a Highland Brewing from Asheville, North Carolina, Clawhammer Oktoberfest. This is a Marzen lager. It's like got an amber haze to it. It's not nearly as deep as a typical Oktoberfest, but I am enjoying it. Though I think there are better versions of Oktoberfest in the market, including
what a Clawhammer looks like.
Clawhammer. I'm also drinking some Casamigos tequila. So I was talking with Mark about this before the show. Tequila comes in 2 forms: mix drink tequila and sipping tequila. Sipping tequila is always more expensive because it's supposed to be like a fine whiskey that you get to enjoy. Casamigos is a relatively inexpensive yet still $50 bottle of tequila that you would sip on rather than mix into a margarita. I enjoy it because it's a nice añejo that has the sweet flavor of the agave without being too overpowering, and a small burn, but it doesn't leave like a burn down your throat or in your chest.
How many years? 7?
I wish I could tell you. I will find out soon. Maybe. Doesn't say. No.
Does it say Ace on there? See it there?
Nope, it says Ocho.
8 years.
Okay. No, it doesn't say. There's nothing on here.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, I'm enjoying it though.
Cool. And what's the brand again?
Casamigos tequila.
Okay.
Añejo, $50.
Cool. Where's it on the scale of Mandala?
I mean, Mandela is just better overall because it is completely smooth with a nice sweetness to it. But if I don't want to pay $200 for a bottle of tequila, this is a great alternative because the burn is very minimal. But I actually like it because it reminds me of a whiskey with a nice sweetness to it.
Okay. I'm drinking Jameson Black Barrel again.
Oh, of course you are. But it's a classic. What about you, Marcus?
I am drinking Woodford Reserve Double Oaked.
Ooh, he only went through one bottle today.
Oh, you have finished it. Okay.
He went through that whole bottle tonight.
Yeah, tonight, exactly. Yep. Definitely didn't, go over it past 3 weeks or anything. Oh, and I just looked at the Casamigos Añejo. 14 months is the age, apparently.
Ooh,
there you go.
Man.
Again, surprisingly smooth for only being 14 months.
Yeah.
This week, surprisingly enough, we do have some weekly reading. This article I thought was super fascinating. Pokemon. Because it's like supposed to be a Japanese-ish word. Apology video splits the Twitch streamers and YouTubers. If you do not know, Pokemon is a streamer who is a female streamer who has basically left her relationship status kind of vague because she does tend to cater to a lot of men who will give her donations. Not in a lewd sense. She's not one of those streamers, but in a very...
She's a tease.
I mean,
it is Pokimane.
Pokimane? Okay. Well, there you go.
I'm wrong. Johnny for the win.
Yeah, no, it is Pokimane. No, but she decided she was going to step away from Twitch, I think, 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. She decided she was going to step away for a while.
So she released this apology video because somebody came out from behind the scenes and let the entire community know that she does have a boyfriend, and she then apologized for the fact that she lied about it. And by a lie, she didn't actually lie, she just had a lie of omission. So a lot of people are very split on this reaction because in the one sense, a lot of female streamers feel like that they have to hide the fact that they're in relationships because people get like vitriolic and toxic towards them just for being in a relationship. In the other sense, people are literally coming to her for essentially a sense of a feminine emotional touch in their lives, and they felt betrayed. So I found this to be very interesting. We talk a lot of...
You're taking money from mentally unstable people, and you should know what you're doing.
The problem is you not necessarily your intention, like...
Yeah.
Okay, so Pokimane's an attractive girl, and the thing is that's...
Mark?
That is generally what she will attract, is a lot of people who want to watch her content.
This is not a topic.
Okay.
I know you want to talk about it, but we're running at 70 minutes right now. We have to stop. Right. I agree. I almost put this as my topic, but you should check it out. If you do have interest in us talking about it, please let us know in the comments, and we will 100% put this on one of our topics to discuss it.
Yep.
We do have some really good section of cool ass shit this week because Lego is releasing bricks designed for blind builders. Ooh. They're building bricks that have Braille on them so people can put together things.
I mean, I feel like you already have to feel the bricks in the first place. I mean, the Braille probably helps, but I feel like you should already be able to feel
they're
6 or 8.
Color-coded.
Well, you also can't...
Not even that, but...
So you have to think about it, Mark. If you're building a Lego set, what do you use?
Because you were thinking
instructions. And how do you tell the difference between different colored bricks?
Well, if you're following, if you're going with instructions, sure. But I mean, like the freehanding, I guess, part of it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But this is like, hey, we're building sets. So if people want to build their Death Star, we have a blind set, so you could build the Death Star in the same way that a normal person would, like someone who is not
there are
handicapped.
Braille instructions catered to specifically how you would feel the model.
So Braille instructions in the booklet, and then the bricks themselves have numbers, and they don't have a full set. So if you think about the average rectangle brick has 6 dots on it, this only has 3 in one portion, or 3 in the middle, or 2 in the middle and 1 off to the side. So that way, when you're handling it, you can feel the difference. And there's a number embedded in there. So you can run your finger across it, feel the number, and know that that's the brick you need.
That's really cool.
It is really cool. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Another thing on cool ass shit is a 70-year-old Japanese couple creates a Totoro sculpture for a bus stop for their granddaughter. I thought this was adorable. It is really well made, and it actually has 3 parking spots nearby so that tourists can come and take pictures with it.
Totoris.
So very cool. Totoris.
It's gonna be on Atlas Obscura.
We're gonna see it when we go to Japan. So check it out. The pictures are well worth diving into. Part 3 of 4. A group takes 16-hour flight from LA to Dubai in Microsoft Flight Simulator in real time. And we actually looked at it. There's a great Twitch stream. You can watch the entirety of it. They're in a half of a cockpit for a simulator for a shuttle, right? Or is that for an airplane?
No, it's an actual airplane cockpit that was cut off of an old airplane is what it looks like. So
it's incredible. Yeah. It is really well done. I'm sure Mark will fill us in all the gritty details next week when he watches the whole.
I will watch the full 16 hours and give you a report next week.
I cannot wait. And finally, in cool ass shit, the Pokemon fan base names its own champions this year. So the 2020 World Championship was canceled, which means there's no TGC or VGC, Trading Card Championship, Video Game Championship. So these small band of community decided they're going to throw their own tournament. So they threw the TGC on Pokemon, their own digital client for Pokemon trading card game, and they had the VGC run through Sword and Shield. They raised $4,000 on Kickstarter to get this going, or on GoFundMe, and put out $500 cash prizes to the champions, just so they could run this for the weekend, this past weekend, over Twitch. really cool, very passionate community. I love seeing this kind of stuff where it's obviously not on the same level. Like the world champions for Pokemon allots $25,000. So the fact that still a small community can come together and get enough people involved that they have winners and stuff, I think is great.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Kudos to the people. I actually need to go check out the stream because I love competitive Pokemon. Finally, our question of the week is, what is a meal you like to make that makes you relax or put you in a good mood? And I can go
like
first.
to open up a package of Oreos.
I don't know if we can qualify Oreos as a meal, John.
Yeah.
If you eat the whole thing, it can be.
It also says something you like to make. Is the question here?
Well,
I don't think
what
you're
I do
making
is I
the
take
Oreos.
the Oreos and I take the tops off, and then I start adding all the cream until it gets too big towards I can't put it in my mouth.
And then you got to deep throat it, you creamy
Okay,
bastard.
as a longtime double stuff Oreo fan, what is wrong with you?
I always knew Mark was a double stuffer.
There's also the mega stuff. Don't forget about those.
Oh my
Don't
god!
forget about that. My personal favorite meal is breakfast. I love
Ooh,
cooking
okay.
breakfast. I don't. It truly doesn't matter. Though I prefer something that's not. I shouldn't say heavy in carbs. I prefer not pancakes or French toast. Though I'll do that. But like eggs, potatoes, and bacon. Like when quarantine started, one of my favorite things was I'm working from home now. I made breakfast like every day for a solid 3 weeks because I just love getting up and like the option of scrambling eggs, getting the bacon going, how all that combines. I love making biscuits and gravy. Shrimp and grits, like all of these meals are very comforting to me. Even if I don't eat them, like cooking that for another person, there's something about that specific brand of like your meal. I just love breakfast so much.
Okay.
Well, I would probably actually say that most of the meals that I cook tend to either be breakfast or dinner. I don't really eat a whole lot of lunch. So my favorite breakfast for sure, and the one that is most memorable to me, is actually French toast. Mom and Dad used to still do have a recipe for French toast. So when I eat it, it's like super reminiscent of all the times where they would do it on special occasions like Christmas, Thanksgiving, times when we were home from school, or when family was over. So it would always be like reminiscent of like a very good time in my life when I would be eating French toast. I actually made it for you guys a while back, and super good.
Very cool. I do love French toast, stuffed French toast. Don't get me started on breakfast. Keep going, Mark.
I'm hungry now.
So the funny part is actually I don't eat breakfast all that often. Like breakfast, I love breakfast food. Don't get me wrong, but I don't eat breakfast enough that
Breakfast
I could
for
classify
dinner.
it as something that I like. Lunch and dinner are my two meals generally during the day. Like if I'm doing like a breakfast, it's usually an English muffin with some cream cheese on it or something like that, and that's like all I'm eating in the morning. But actually, one of my favorites, anyway, as far as making, I have one seasonal and I have one regular that I do. My regular is a goulash recipe from my mom.
Okay.
I
Nice.
love goulash. Okay, and it was one of the things that like whenever I'd come into town or something like that, when I'd come back from college or when I was in Florida, I'd come back, up or something like that. My stepdad would always kind of guilt trip my mom into it, like, oh, Mark's in town, like you could probably make that goulash whenever you're, he's here because he really loves that, kind of thing. He'd do it for himself, of course, but. No, but like her goulash was amazing, so much so that I have a Google Keep note available for that recipe, just available to me at any time.
Nice.
My seasonal, actually, and I haven't done this for the last 2 years now, actually. I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I had set a trend for about 4 years while I was living in Florida and Georgia, and even after I had moved back, actually, that I was doing a turkey for Thanksgiving every year. I was doing a large turkey for Thanksgiving. And that was always one of my favorite things, is I do a brine turkey. And it was always something like goulash, and making goulash for myself, or making the turkey for me and my friends and whoever was coming for Thanksgiving were always really good. There was mood boosters for me of like, oh man, I'm really excited to make this, for the people that I want to share this with, or even if I was doing it for myself. So,
My favorite shareable meal is probably tacos. double-decker tacos.
I do like tacos, yeah.
Ooh, like a Taco Bell 10-pack. Let's do a Taco Bell 10-pack.
Let's go get some food. See you guys at Taco
Please
Bell.
let me know and let us know what is one of your favorite meals to make, whether it's comforting or just because you enjoy it. You can let us know in the comments floating above Mark like a Taco Bell 10-pack. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers!
Clink, clong. Man, that was...